Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Hello, hello. Welcome back to the channel, Caring Connections with Faith. I am the Faith in that part of the title. Let me just double check and make sure that we have sound and all that stuff. Right now, I don't hear anything. Let me see here. Okay. I think we're good. I think we are good. So happy to have the opportunity to be with you all again this morning. All right, so here we are. I'm trying to see if this is too, it might be too, I'm hearing a lot of wind. I might have to put the window up. Wonder if we're gonna see. Just give it a second and see. I have all the windows down because it's such a beautiful day here. And so I was hoping that having the breeze coming through the van would make a difference for the phone overheating. So we're gonna see if it's too windy. I'll have to put the window up. Let me see if I just put one up, if that'll be enough to like break up the wind. It's a little tiny bit windy. We'll see. So if I don't have it pulling all the way through, maybe that'll be a big difference. We'll see. All right. Let me see if I reload that. All right. Let's see how we're doing here. Okay. So, I'm here at one of my very, very, very favorite spots. This is, believe it or not, this is right outside a library. And as a lot of you know, I suffer from PTSD as a result of my open heart surgery. So one of the things that is super important to me is windows. If I'm inside, it's very difficult for me to be inside. So this library was one that we found. When I want to go someplace, I normally have to go on Google Maps and I have to scour different options and look for who has the best windows. I had to do that with my church. I've had to do it with libraries, doctors. There's a test that actually technically the doctor wanted me to have done, and I'm just not going to do it because it's a closed room test. So it is what it is. And yeah, so this is one of my favorite libraries. And look at, they have this beautiful pond here, right? And as I mentioned, the breeze is absolutely fantastic. So I can sit here even on the hottest summer day, and it's one of the few places that I know that has a really great breeze. The other park that I've been streaming from in the Tampa area, it gets a little bit of a breeze, but nowhere near as beautiful as this coming off the water here. It's just amazing. So that's me. Here I am. And my daughter has been taking a few days with a friend of hers and staying there with her friend. And so that gave me the opportunity to get away and come back down to the Clearwater area. I was able to be with my mom for a day this week and hang out with her, and that was awesome. And now I'm having a couple days just me and recharging the batteries and relaxing and getting ready because next week school starts, high school starts. And so right now we've been looking for a car to buy that would help us get her to school every day, because it's about a 30-mile drive. So that's a lot of gas that baby Beluga cannot afford. I can't afford that amount of gas. 60 miles in baby Beluga that gets 10 miles to the gallon is insane. There's no way I can afford that. So we've been looking for this car, and we've had a couple of options present themselves, And that's what I was going to tell you a little bit about on Tuesday, that we might have had a surprise. We found this amazing 97 Ford Mustang that really, on paper, from what the people said, was going to be amazing. And I was super, super excited. And it was about an hour drive away under normal circumstances. However, we had to go up I-4 at the worst time ever, right in rush hour traffic. And so literally we spent 3 hours almost in the car to get to see this car. And then we got there, and my son, who is amazing and is a mechanic, literally within the first 60 seconds was shaking his head. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, are you sure you don't need to check something else out? And he's like, no, this and this and this and this and this, and the car has, no brakes and la 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 la. And he's like, within 60 seconds, he's got all that in his head. He didn't even open the hood. Just with his flashlight, walking around the car, within 60 seconds, he was done. We're not buying this car, not even for $1,000, he said. It's like, oh my gosh, I was really counting on this car. It was super cute. Super, super cute. My daughter would have loved it. However, the whole point of this is safe, reliable, cost-efficient transportation to get my daughter to school. And then hopefully, have something that I can pass on to her when she turns 16. And she'll have a car of her own that she can drive herself to school in when she turns 16. So that was the plan. However, it's proving very difficult. Facebook Marketplace is not the easiest way to find a vehicle, especially when you don't have a humongous budget. You get a lot of scammers that are trying to just flip a car. And I understand that, and I know that God has never let me down before, and He knows our need. And my daughter-in-law, Elena, has graciously offered the use of her vehicle, and that literally more than doubles my trip every day, because then I have to drive my daughter to school. Then I have to come back and get my daughter-in-law, Elena, and take her to work. And then from her work, go pick up my daughter at school when it's time. And then us drive back and pick up Elena, and then all drive home together. So it's definitely doable, and it's definitely would save money compared to my baby beluga here. So I am super, super grateful and thankful for that. And at the same time, it puts a ton of miles on her car. It puts a ton of driving miles on me every day. And it's still, because we're making double the trips, it's still not as cost effective as simply buying a vehicle that we just make one trip. We drive her there, I run around for the day and do my thing, and then I go back and I pick her up and I bring her home. So that's I had hoped that this morning I would be able to share with you this amazing news that we found the car, and my daughter was super excited and all those things. And as life goes, there's lots of times when we are super disappointed. And that was me on Tuesday night. When he's shaking his head, I'm like, no, please look again, please. And I trust him with our lives, literally. And so if he says the car is no good, then the car's no good. And I have to accept that. But man, I was disappointed. I was super, super, super bummed. And I have to trust, again, that, it's not the best for us. And that I trust God, that He has a plan for my life, and the right car will present itself at the right time. So I'm just going to keep trusting that that's just the way it is. And we do have, the backup of Elena's car for now, and we're just going to keep looking. So that's that. And today we are going to talk a little bit more about memorial stones. So let's pop into it. And so we're not here all day long, I'm going to show you in a little bit my memory box. because this is so important to me. The things in here, and you guys might think they're stupid and have no value, but I'm going to share them with you. And if nothing else, then if anything were to ever happen to me, my kids can watch this video and they'll have a permanent remembrance of why all these things in this box are important to me and what would then make them significant to them as well. So first, let's recap the importance of memory stones. And here is some of the cool highlights and points that I found when I was doing research to be able to talk to you guys. So here's something that I found. A lot of times, these memorial stones, we talked about Stonehenge as a major memorial stone that was built and has lasted all of these years, right? It was built by a family that wanted their legacy to continue and remain over time. And that has stood the test of time for sure. So, one key idea is we are reframing hindsight, looking back, into evidence. So when we face a new challenge, a lot of times we panic, right? When we're hit with something new and hard that we've never experienced before, our first instinct is to, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Right? And we feel that. So if we have something that we can tangibly hold, touch, look at, experience, then we can look back on those instances. Some of them may be very, very painful. And we can give objective proof and evidence that, man, we got through whatever that was. We adapted and we came out stronger and we learned and we grew on the other side, right? So sometimes, like I said before, it's really easy for us to get going along and kind of like forget when something happens, and we get through to the other side of a hard thing. We are like on this mountaintop, right? And we're like ecstatic and we're like, I never want to forget this feeling right now because we've hit something that's so amazing and special. But as time goes on, it just seems to fade from our memories because that's how humanity works. It just, we want to keep moving forward. But to do that, we have to always be willing to remember those times in the past. It can be good times or hard times that we have endured and grown from and changed and become the human being we are today. So, I've already told you about a couple of things in my own life that are memorial stones, and we're going to look at my memory box in a little bit. But let's talk about a couple of things another thing is the power of narrative identity. And this is a psychological thing. So those of you who don't really believe in psychobabble, now's time to turn off your ears for 3 seconds while I talk about this, okay? So psychologists often talk about narrative identity. And this is the internal story that we build about who we are. So when people look back and see how those past struggles have shaped their current strengths, right? They shift their self-image from a victim to the author of their own growth, right? So they see that they're not necessarily a victim. And I can see that definitely from my own previous hard times. My first marriage, I very, very much felt like a victim for years. I went through lots and lots of abuse, broken bones and black eyes in my first marriage. And absolutely, I felt for a really, really long time, years, like a victim in that marriage. And after that marriage ended, it took a long time to see, wow, look at how strong you are. Look at how strong you had to be in that situation for your son who was in utero at that time. And to be able to find the courage and the strength to keep walking and pull up my big girl pants. And I've had to do that many, many, many times in my life and rebuild my life into something beautiful, kind of like a phoenix. You know, I had to do it again after my second marriage fell apart. And I have actually been able to come to a place from being a victim, which it would be very easy to look at both of my marriages as a victim mentality, but I have actually come to be so thankful for those situations because they have allowed me to change that narrative identity from a victim, but to be able to look back and be thankful because of the strength of character that it has created in me, that I know I can survive anything because I've already done it before. It might not be the same anything, but I have survived abuse as a child. I have survived 2 not so great marriages. I have survived a major health issue that went on for years and still continues to be a part of my life today that I have had to grow and learn and adapt. And so I can look at myself today and I know, wow, look at how strong you are. Look at how your character and your integrity has been shaped in the face of all that difficulty, right? And it gives me the power to look at struggles that I face today and be like, you can get through this. Even, like Monday, I was feeling pretty down and missing my partner again. This grief thing is no joke. And I just had to sit in the car, in the van, and cry and let the feelings come and let the tears come and then be like, these are just feelings. You have wonderful memories. Hold on to them and keep your focus on the reality that you learned so much from that relationship and you have so many new skills and tools in your toolbox now. And I've grown to a place that I want something different than that. I want something more than that. I want a person who looks at me and their face lights up because they think I am amazing. And to settle for anything less than that would be a disservice to me, right? So my narrative identity has majorly shifted. And then another point is that creating these stones doesn't have to be anything to do with a religious belief, right? Keepsakes, photos, journals, or even significant changes in our physical space. Like for me, this van is a huge memorial stone that I drive around in every single day because that house that I lost, that I had to sell because of my health, that was another memorial stone in my life. There was so much love put into building that house as a habitat house. And as much as it almost killed me to have to consider selling it and sell it and to go through that hard time, because like a whole year went by from the time we sold the house to the time I got baby Beluga here. And I was living in this really, really teeny tiny minivan and making the best of a bad situation, waiting for that disability to come in, trying to survive on just a couple of $100s a month. Barely eating, going to food pantries and things to try and survive. But I made it. And then the disability came in and I was able to get baby beluga, and all of the things just worked out so amazing. So every time I get into baby beluga, others may look from the outside and see a van that needs a paint job, and see a van that is a little bit rusty in places, and might see a van that leaks when it rains. But you know what? I see a beautiful roof over my head that I've been able to create something, a home for me. And so that alone is a huge memorial marker for me. So let's talk about a couple more outside sources, and then we'll get to my box. All right, so we talked about a little bit about the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, which is in Washington, D.C. And how about the 9/11 memorial pools in New York City? The memorial pools were built in the footprints of the Twin Towers, and they're waterfalls. They're carved into the earth. So they create massive empty spaces surrounded by names. So they use the physical landscape to turn something abstract like the nation's grief into a tangible place that people can stand there, they can touch, and they can reflect. So it's a perfect example. There's another one that I think is pretty cool, and these are called stumbling stones. In the other in their language, they're called stolperstein, and they're all across Europe. So the artist Gunter Demning, he placed small brass top cobblestones directly into pavement outside the last known homes of Holocaust victims. And so literally millions of people walk by these places every day, and they stumble upon these stones that have the brass topping on them. And so it's a memorial, so it intersects their daily life, just walking around with that historical memory. So people have come to know these as memorial stones because they're outside of these homes where the Holocaust victims lived until their passing. All right, so we have, as I mentioned before, lots and lots and lots of things that we use in our own lives. Sometimes people hang things from their rearview mirror. Sometimes people just have like a coin that sits on their desk, or a trinket that they saw when they went on this amazing trip, or something, okay? And we also talked about tattoos, and tattoos are something that is very, very popular these days. I know that friends often, instead of like if they share an experience together, they go and they get a tattoo to commemorate that experience. This might be TMI, but my kids, my big kids, not my 14-year-old, but my big kids worked together. That's where they met, at an assisted living facility. They both were cooks, and they met there. And so the two of them and a couple of other friends went and got a tattoo, a small one on their arm, of a can of beans. And that was to remember that period in their lives where they came together and they were there for a purpose, and they were helping people who needed their help to be able to eat every day, right? So that's a wonderful memorial stone that's right there that they don't ever forget, that they see every day. All right, so on that note, let's move to my memory box, and we'll see, I'll show you what's in here. All right, so I started this memory box when this one I started when my son was a baby, so way, way, way back in early 2000. But I had all this stuff and I was carting it around with me, and so I put this box together. It's just an old hat box, and so it's kind of falling apart. I left it on the seat of the van the other day, and as I mentioned, my van does leak, and so we had a huge rainstorm and the lid got a little tiny bit wet, but that's okay. It's still okay. So let's look. I already showed you these. This is my stones from a time when my son got to be with his biological father for a day. And so that's a memorial of that day. And then in here we have other things. This is actually pretty cool. This is a little tiny cottage, but really it's perfume. It's a little perfume bottle. It was sold by Avon way back in the day. And as a little girl, when I would go to my grandma's house, which I went almost every day, it was always sitting on her dresser with all of her things. And so every time I look at this, I remember those times, my grandma getting ready in the morning, and I would sit on the bed and watch her, and she would put a little bit of this perfume on herself and on me. And so I can open this and smell it. I don't ever use it anymore, but I just smell it every once in a while when I open this. So that's a wonderful memory of my grandma, because I don't have a ton of stuff of my grandma's, and so that's one. This is newspaper clippings that are super important to me. So I have this one here, and this one here is actually my birth announcement in the newspaper, and so that's pretty cool. And it's the notice of my birth. And then this one is it's just a memory and a memorial of a student. When I was in high school, I was an English tutor, and I tutored this guy, and I tutored him in English, and we made some really great memories together, and he became a really important part of my life. And I have tried to keep up with him just through the news and stuff over the years. He actually became a pretty famous lacrosse player. He was known for fighting, which wasn't so great, but yeah, so I have that as a keepsake. And then let's see, this, speaking of my birth announcement, see, this is my mom's bracelet. Back in the day in Canada, then people had bracelets that had their name on it with their baby, and so this is my mom's from that time. Let's see, this one is cool. This little car, if anybody looked at it, would have not any idea about the significance in my life, but see on the bottom it has initials. And this car, I remember, I can see the day vividly. This car was given to me by my cousin, who has since passed actually, and my cousin, his sister, is still with us, and I was able to show this when I went back to Canada last year. I went back to Canada for the first time in 30 years, and I showed my cousin Sherry this car, and I said, Kevin gave me this car a long time ago when we were little tiny kids, when we came over to visit. And I didn't get to see them very often growing up, but yeah, so this was a really fantastic memory of a part of my family that I didn't get to see very often, but a really good memory of a day when we made memories together. All right, let's see what else. Okay, so these, I thought I had the other one too. Maybe I don't. So these are my baby utensils from my mom. When we were moving, she asked if I wanted them, and so here they are. So, here they are. And I still have them. They're the set that I used. And maybe someday, my grandkids will be able to use this same set when they're little. And this one I think was my sister's. Anyway, so yeah, that's that. Pieces of my childhood. And my childhood was not always easy. Definitely some really rough times in my childhood, and I can look at those and realize how far we've come, and that I have survived, etc., etc. So let's talk about these. I guess while we're talking about my childhood and my grandparents, I should show you this too. This is a locket that my grandparents gave me, and they gave it to me. Actually, they gave it to me August 14th, 1981, and it has their picture inside. Originally, they gave me their pictures of themselves, like really black and white, old photos. And so I have those photos in here still, but then I updated photos of my grandparents just before they died, actually, on one of their last big anniversary parties. So those are my grandparents. And I have so many great memories of cherished times with them, where I learned so much, baking with my grandma and cutting the grass with my grandfather. My grandfather actually did a lot in the shaping of how I drive today, actually. And so that was pretty important. And so let's see what else I got in here. I've got my kids' teeth, which I'm sure they won't appreciate me showing you, so I won't show you those. I have my first pair of contacts ever. I know, who keeps this stuff, right? It's not so. But I wore these big Coke bottle, thick glasses until I was like 15 years old. And then at 15, I was able to switch to contacts. And so then I got to wear sunglasses. I wish I had kept my very first sunglasses, because that would have been awesome too. But here's my first contacts. They're probably all dried up and there's probably nothing but like dust in there. But they're there because that was a huge accomplishment in my life. And obviously I've since gone back to glasses just because it's easier. But yeah, they're in there. This is a shell necklace that I bought when I was in Puerto Rico. And the same with these earrings. I only see one earring at the moment. And my coquille frogs. I'm just showing you a few things. I won't go through the whole box. These are things from Puerto Rico. And as a teenager, I went to Puerto Rico, and I was there to do some work in the summer with a school for the deaf. And I went there to help out with the deaf kids, and we ran a summer program. And they would come to the school for the deaf, and we would have so much fun. And we had like Bible lessons, and it was just a really great, amazing thing. And so actually that's was a huge turning point in my life, Puerto Rico, because I went there then for 3 summers. And every year I went back, I was like more and more convinced that that's where my heart was, and that's where I wanted to go and work after I graduated high school. And so they're the ones that helped me find my university that I went to in Minnesota, which is where I met my son's father, and yada, yada, yada. So again, that looking back of how that shaped my life. And even though I never made it to Puerto Rico to work there at the school, it's shaped my life and made me into the person I am today, because it started me on that path so many years ago. So Puerto Rico still holds a wonderful place in my heart. And so I have, let's see what else. Let's see. Okay. This. These are my first car keys, guys. I told you that it was so important. Driving was one thing that was super important. My uncles, on my mom's side, everybody's like this amazing driver and like speed demons, and they drive all over. They all used to have fuzzbusters when that was a thing in the day. And so driving was like, I just want to be the best driver like all the rest of the Phillipses, right? And so my grandfather would let me sit on his lap, and we would drive around and practice driving. And he always had this amazing big Cadillac. And so he promised me that when I turned 16 and had my actual license, I was going to be able to drive his Cadillac by myself. Like, he would sit there on the passenger and I would drive him around. And I was looking forward to that. I spent so many great memories of washing that Cadillac, getting ready. Like, I was so close to my 16th birthday when he passed. So my first car, I never got to drive the Cadillac. My first car was a Dodge Shadow that you could actually see the road because the floor was all rusted out under the mat. But I learned the importance of being a good driver from my grandfather. And so yeah, good memories. I won't show you everything in the box, just so you know. Just a few more things. I won't show you my son's stuff, but I have some stuff that were memories from my my son too in here. These little tiny beads. Again, just little tiny things that nobody would even think twice about. But these beads used to be on a face mask that we made at my high school. For my Native Studies class, we made this mask. We were doing we did some psychological work when we were talking about the mask and the importance of masks and, you know, who we are. And so each of us created this mask out of plaster, and these were the fringes along my bangs. So I don't have the whole mask in there, obviously, but I do have the fringes from my bangs and who I am. And these are so significant because high school was a really, really hard time for me. I was bullied a lot in high school, and it took a lot of strength to get through that. And so, when I graduated, I was taking care of my sister at that time too. So it was a lot. High school was a lot. So those, again, are a testament to courage and strength. Okay, so just a couple more things, and then we're gonna go. This one is, I showed you the locket from my grandma and my grandpa. This was my other grandma's, my dad's mom. This is one of the only things I have of theirs. My grandfather on my dad's side actually passed away when I was a baby. So I don't remember him. I don't remember memories, although I have seen a picture of him holding me. But this was my grandma's. And I definitely had good times with her. She lived with us for a while, and she was a great woman of faith too. So this was hers, and I treasure this. And I actually, I have her china cabinet that is at my son's house in storage. So, yeah. So that's a memory of my grandma and the impact that she had on my life. Okay, a couple more things. Let's see. What else? I have lots of things in here, concert tickets, lots and lots of things, but I won't share them all because we don't have time for all that. I'll show you I have this film, and I don't even know why I have it in here, but I have this old roll of film that I'm not really sure why I have it in there, but I do. Oh, I should show you this too. This is my first watch, very first watch. This will be the last thing I'll show you. And then I think that's the last thing we'll show you. Oh, I should show you this too. This is my first watch, and my grandma told me, you learn how to tell time without a digital, right? She's like old school. You learn how to tell the time just by the hands, and I will get you a watch. So I practiced and practiced and practiced learning how to tell time with the hands. And so eventually my grandma bought me this watch. And as a typical kid, I was not old when she gave it to me. And as any child, I lost it. And I was devastated when I lost this watch. And it stayed lost for almost a year because I must have lost it. I must have lost it, and then winter happened and it got covered up with snow. It was outside, actually on my driveway, And so who knows how many times the cars drove over it and everything. But when we found it, it still worked, guys. I think actually my grandpa actually found it on my driveway one day when he was over to visit. So yeah, so this reminds me that it's always important to learn new things. And my grandma rewarded me with this watch. So yeah. Okay, last thing. And I've talked to you about this before. Oh man, where did I just put it? I just had it here. Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. This is way rusty and old. Look at how old that is, right? It was the key. It was the tag that went to the keys. Whoops, I can't do this. The keys to my house, my Habitat house that I built. With so much love and so many people. So this was the tag that was on my key ring. The day that I signed the mortgage with Habitat, I was given this tag and the keys. So yeah, super, super, super important. Accomplishment. I actually had someone say to me before I was even approved for the Habitat process that, oh, you'll never get a Habitat house. There's no way. You don't fit their profile. You are a white woman. There's no way they're going to give you a Habitat house. And yes, it wasn't right for her to say that to me, but she did. And I was just determined that I was going to provide a roof for my son and myself. He was only 3 or 4 at the time, but by George, we made it, and I persevered, and I worked really, really hard for that house and spent many, many hours building it. Sometimes even in the pouring rain. I laid all the sod in the backyard by myself in the pouring rain one day. So many, many, many memories that are so important of strength and endurance and resilience in that one little tiny keychain. And I might not have the house anymore, and I might not have those physical walls that I can touch and remember all the love, that the messages that were written to me, but I have that keychain, and it is a reminder that I can continue on and I can persevere, and amazing things can happen when I do. So yeah, so those are just a few. I have tons of other stuff in here that people are going to think are corny and weird, but that mean the world to me. I have my son's senior night pin from football. I have this little pottery bowl that my daughter made me in like 2nd grade. She made it. It has her name written, carved in here. Just little stuff that mean the world to me, that are memories. So yeah, that's what's in my memory box. Now you know. And I wanted to share them with you just to be a reminder to you that it's important to look back and see where you've come from and how you've grown and the amazing person that you're becoming, and to know that when we face new, maybe hard challenges, that this too will pass. And as long as we're open to learning and growing, this is how we become amazing people, right? And even if things are really hard and it sure looks like it might kill you, I know when I had that heart attack and spent those 2 years in and out of the hospital, like I really thought that I might not survive all that. But here I am, and I am not only surviving, I am thriving, and I have this wonderful, amazing life. I'm just so blessed and so thankful. So all these little mementos and memories, just show me that, man, you've made it, and I don't know what other things I'm going to be asked to walk through, and that's okay. But I do know that, number one, my belief system in God carries me through no matter what, that God is good and that God has a good plan for my life. That's what I believe. And I know that I can look back at this stuff and remember where I've come from, the hard things I've overcome, and the good that has occurred in my life because of that growth. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell. That's what was in my memory box. And I would so love it if you're in the chat or you're watching the replay, if you wouldn't mind just dropping a comment and maybe just sharing one memory stone and what it means to you, because that would be a huge encouragement, not only to me, but to other people who would see it, right? And see that this is really a good thing in their lives, and how other people have overcome hard things. So if you don't mind and you would just take a second, that would be awesome. And I am going to sign off for now. I'm going to get some lunch. It's supposed to rain again this afternoon, so I'm going to have to do all the stuff I do to shove different towels and stuff in places where it's going to leak. And then I'm going to head into the library. This is another thing real quick before we go. This is my newest project that I'm working on. So my friend Frank, who I've mentioned on the channel before, he passed away 2 years ago next week. And Frank was a poet. So I have all of these books, notebooks. He just filled notebook after notebook after notebook with his poetry. And I promised him that I would not let that be in vain and that I would take good care of it. And so what I'm doing now is I'm going to scan page after page after page. I'm going to scan it in, and we're eventually going to create a website so that people can come and view Frank's poetry, because it's amazing and he writes about so many different things. So next week when we do the stream, I'm going to read you some of Frank's poetry as a tribute to him. But it's time now. I have it in this big rubber tote, and it's time to take it out and start scanning it all in and getting it ready to be on this website that we're going to create eventually. So that's what I'm going to do this afternoon. I'm going to start that process and see how it goes. If you happen to know of like a website format that I could use to upload all this stuff to, that would be also great if you drop that in the chat. Anyway, I got to run. I will talk to you again on Tuesday. Lots and lots of love. I hope you're able to have a great weekend. Hopefully there will be some sunshine and some peace in your life. And until Tuesday, take good care of yourself and those around you. Bye for now. Lots of love.